All right, so we are nearing the end of the first week of March, so it's the 4th today. Oh my god, I love matcha. What have I been reading? Okay, so mostly actually I've just been slowly getting through Mario Périard, L'orthographe en carcan. The book isn't necessarily teaching me anything new, but I love the way it's structured. Every chapter starts with an argument about a common fear-born argument about why French should never change, and then he explains that that is ahistorical. Throughout the entire history of the French language, since the 8th century, French has been a language that has changed a lot. And then in the 18th century, when l'Académie Française was born, that's when the language started becoming more ahistorical. And the fact of the matter is that wanting to freeze a language doesn't actually ensure its survival. It doesn't actually make it more historically accurate. There's an argument that a lot of people have: if French changes, we'll forget our roots, we'll forget where we come from, and that's completely untrue. That has no basis in reality. There's nothing about language changing that is going to make us forget who we are, because who we are is who we are. Our language changes with us. I really, really like this book. It is really short. It's a really quick read. I found it really pleasant. So if you're interested in a book on the French language, I do recommend this one. Okay, now for fun things that I've been reading. After the beauty that was Francesca Echiuiasi's Butter Honey Pig Bread, I needed like a palate cleanser. I also needed something that I knew would make me laugh, because it's a pandemic. We need more laughter, and so I've been reading Terry Pratchett's. I'm reading the Discworld series for the first time. I read Good Omens like a really long time ago when I was in high school, but I never really read Discworld, despite a few friends of mine being really into the series. So it took me a little while to get into it because he has a very distinct style. The first time I actually read it was in an ebook format, and I actually thought that something had happened to the ebook, that it was corrupted because there were no chapters, and I even mentioned to my partner, like, I think there's something wrong with this ebook, it got corrupted, and he had to tell me, no, that's just the way Pratchett writes. That was a little bit of a learning curve, let's say. I think I read Witches Abroad, the first one that I read of the series, but now I'm slowly making my way through Guards, and I find it very funny, so I'm enjoying it. The beginning, especially like the first 3 chapters, I was cackling. Well, the first 3 chapters. There's no chapters in Terry Pratchett, and yet my mind automatically is trying to organize the scene into chapters. That's fascinating. Okay, anyways, and then finally, I've got this guy on my desk. He's waiting for me. Can't wait. Alright, so probably the next update will be in a few days, where I will tell you more about Hench. So things have been going pretty well, though I have been paying a little bit for past Gersande's choices, as in the past couple of days I had a bunch of time free for reading, and I decided to play Mass Effect 3, and every time I think maybe I'll make a slightly different choice that will change the game by like 3%, and then within an hour I've gone back to the previous save and I'm remaking the choice that I always make, because for some reason playing Mass Effect 3 in this one particular way that always makes me cry is like a safety blanket, but I've been in a deep hole of sci-fi video games. I have, however, finished Terry Pratchett's Guards. I've made it sort of my mission this 2021 to try to get through as many of the Discworld books as I can. The register of his social commentary is often really, really sharp. I am really, really enjoying Discworld. I've read Equal Rights, I've read Witches Abroad, which I particularly liked. I really liked that one. I've read Eric, and now I've just finished Guards. The next one I get on loan from the library is Mort. I am controversially not reading the Discworld books in order, and that's mostly just logistics. It's just a practical reason. I'm reading the books in the order in which I can get my hands on them, either because a friend can lend them to me, or I get the ebooks from the library. Pratchett fans, please don't run after me with pitchforks. So that's the plan. Hopefully I'll be updating this soon, and yeah, so let's get to reading. Alright, so I finished Hench. Oh my gosh. So I did not think that I was going to barrel through this book in one day, and I did. I was totally supposed to take care of some adult responsibilities today, and that did not happen. Let me just say, this book is gripping. This book is incredibly imaginative. From the first chapter to the end, I was hooked. Before I get bogged down in trying to describe my emotional reaction to this book, I'd like to first talk about the plot. Anna is a put upon, I'm gonna say the vibe is like mid-20s, or maybe late 20s, working for a temp agency that supplies office workers and henchmen for various supervillains in this world. And much like Gotham City is an analog for great American cities for Batman to run around in, this world is essentially analogous to our world, but there are superheroes and supervillains. In most other ways, though, however, it is very similar to our world. It has everything from Tinder to Farscape to Patreon is even mentioned in this book. Anna is a analytical nerd. Her deal is spreadsheets. She loves data. She loves number crunching. The fact that she works for supervillains is kind of secondary. It just pays the bills. She works paycheck to paycheck, is a bit of a gig worker. That's basically her world. And then something happens at her job, the supervillain job, gets seriously injured, and everything goes off course from there. And I think that's where I'll leave it for the plot, because honestly, the plot is delicious and worth discovering on your own. I really enjoyed Anna. I thought that from her meager beginnings, a kind of nerd, likes to sit in her dirty PJs under a blanket, number crunching for her bosses, to quasi supervillain by the end. I really loved her character development. It was truly seamless. All of her progression felt completely natural. It's not really a descent into supervillainy, because I have to say she's not really a supervillain in my mind. She's more complex than that. But she definitely has a role to play in this world of heroes and supervillains. She's essentially an avatar for a lot of my own nerdy, geeky revenge fantasies, I have to say. As much as this book can be read a little bit as a revenge fantasy, it never lets you get truly comfortable with that analogy. This book is not here let you think that things are ever simple, good or evil. I think the book is truly trying to complicate a world in which supervillains and superheroes exist. I think it does an incredibly good job of posing questions like, who do we allow society to criminalize, and who do we lionize in the pursuit of justice, and what kind of violence do we accept in our society? We do live in an era where a lot of people like to posit Marvel and DC superheroes as kind of the Greek mythology of the 20th and 21st century, and this book is really interesting because it proposes that is too simplistic, and that a world in which supervillains and superheroes are allowed to exist as these ideals would be a really messed up world, as is our world. And also, okay, there is a pairing that I was really hoping was going to become canon, and it did not become canon, at least in this book. I'm like kind of hoping that there will be a sequel. Two characters I was really rooting for a sapphic romance. An enemies to lovers, you could say. I will say that much. That would have ticked all of my boxes, and it did not happen, and I'm a little bit disappointed. Maybe I'm gonna go write some fanfiction about these characters. I don't know, maybe it feels kind of like dirty to say that, but it's okay. I promise, Natalie, I'll be real gentle with Anna. She deserves it. I enjoyed reading this from beginning to end. I was supposed to get things done today, and I read a whole book instead. So I really appreciated everything that this book was saying. Down at like the character level, a big part of Anna's journey is about recovering from a very traumatizing injury that cripples her. Her growing into that injury and owning the trauma. There was a moment at the end of the book where Anna even thanks her body for everything it's done for her, and I feel that as someone who has a tenuous relationship with my own body, I felt that. This book is saying a lot of things, but one of the things that it says is that the fact that superheroes can be so easily embedded into the prison and military-industrial complex is a huge problem about superheroes. And through that conversation, the book is also reflecting our own world, because we also have superheroes in our world. Our superheroes are, of course, fictional. We've got the Marvel superheroes, we've got Superman, we've got Batman. They may not be real, but they are performing a lot of the same functions as real superheroes are in this book. They are doing a lot of the work of morally sanctifying prisons and policing and the military and imperialism. There's a lot of really complicated questions that go along with that, which can be boiled down to, is this a good thing? And as Anna and this book is arguing, well, not always. Hench was a excellent read. I have a strong recommendation for this book. If you've been on the fence about reading this for whatever reason, I do beg that you give it a try. The pacing is fast, so despite the fact that it's a almost 400-page book, it goes by like that. That was Natalie Zina Walschots' Hench. Strong recommendation from me. And yeah, I do not know what I'm going to be reading next. So stay tuned. All right, we are the 12th of March. We are a Friday. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful Friday, or whenever you see this, that you just pretend it's Friday anyways. Today I had a couple of errands to run in the morning. I needed to buy some glue. Instead of ordering glue from a big box store, I decided to try a little bookstore that sometimes has a little corner in the back with like pretty notebooks and pens, and I was like, maybe there will be glue there. And honestly, I wasn't even expecting there to be glue. I just wanted to go look at the pretty books, and not only was there glue, which actually really surprised me, but there were books too, and I ended up buying 2 books that, I'm not proud of this. I have bookshelves full of books that I desperately need to read and that I want to read. I saw Maryse Condé, Moi Tituba Sorcière, and I literally looked at it and I thought to myself, oh no, I'm going to be buying a book today, because I've been wanting to buy this book for a really long time. Maryse Condé took the story of Tituba, with a real historical figure, one of the black slaves of the Salem witch trials, who was actually accused of witchcraft. I think it's won a Nobel Prize for Literature as well. I'm going to have to check that. If it's true, I will include it. But I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, so Moi Tituba Sorcière, I'm glad I bought it. Sorry about that, my memory card in my camera ran out of space, so I had to switch it out. To continue, the second book that I got from the bookstore was Isabelle Sorrente, Le Complexe de la Sorcière. I guess I was feeling in a witchy mood. I bought this book purely because it had the word sorcière in the title. I think for next week, I definitely am going to try to tackle the Maryse Condé, because that's been on my TBR for a really long time. But I've got a couple of other kind of exciting books. I've got the next Christelle Dabo, La Passe Miroir series, which in English has been translated to The Mirror Traveler, I think. Of course, I've got Vivek Shraya's The Subtweet, which I'm also really looking forward to reading. Oh, and also Mort, the Pratchett book. I've been really enjoying the sunshine, mid-March feels. It's a little bit warmer outside, most of the snow is melting, so I've just been in a pretty energetic mood, and that's carried over to my reading. I feel like reading all of the things, and maybe writing some sapphic Hench fanfiction. Maybe. That book gave me so many feels. If you enjoyed the vlog, if you've been appreciating the cat content, the tea content, or the bookish content, do consider joining me on Patreon, even a few dollars a month. allows me to invest the time and resources that creating a beautiful vlog requires. The last couple of weeks have been really, really interesting, just embarking on this new adventure with you. So do join me on Patreon if you can. If you're just here to have a good time, that's totally alright. Do let me know what you're reading and what you've particularly loved lately. And again, happy Friday. And don't worry, no matter when you see this, it is Friday. It's okay. It is Friday. It is a good day. Happy Friday. Okay. Alright, I'll stop. I've been talking into the camera so much. Just trying to record this last take. Okay, I'm done. Oh yeah, and the tag. Alright, let's get to reading. Bye. Guess whose camera doesn't have an autofocus for the video mode? Or if it does, I have no idea how to turn it on, and it's driving me a little bit insane. Yes, nail right. You know how to record good audio? Speak into the microphone. It works every time. I was amazed. Finished. Terry Pratchett's. Wow, I'm keeping that in. I really should have written a script for this because I have ideas. They're not coming out normal. Hey Minou! Are you judging my book buying habits? I think you are. Hi! Who's the most beautiful cat? Is that fun? Also, look at what my partner borrowed from the library. So this may also be for next week.